Hi everybody. Welcome to Bama Blind. I'm Beverly and I'm back again. And you probably would like to know what I've been doing for the last several weeks. I haven't uploaded in a while. And I've been so busy, but so chilled and relaxed. So it's kind of been a mixture of different things. Been doing a lot of reading, a lot of research. I love to do research. But one of the things I've been researching is what I want to talk about today, and that is the Americans with Disabilities Act. I recently got some information from a community member about my community, which you've probably been with me around town, and my community has about 37,000 people in its population. And I've been pretty active over the years in all kinds of community activities. And I decided to insert myself into a new area of city governance, which is the ADA. And so I have had the privilege to speak before our city council members in a committee meeting that included our city attorney and our mayor and our city planner and the police chief and the fire chief. But one of the things that my city is doing right now is working on an ordinance to expand some services through private restaurants. The ordinance happens to be about serving alcohol outside of the perimeters of the actual restaurant itself, so kind of spilling out onto the exterior of the business. And we've got several businesses in my community that already do this. But the ones that I am particularly interested in and the ones that I have inserted myself into are businesses that you may have seen me walk past on my normal regular routes around my historic district. I live in a downtown district. It's a mixed district, so there are a lot of government buildings. There's a courthouse and a city hall. There are libraries. There are schools. There are restaurants. There are churches. There are residences. There are apartments, condominiums. So it's a mixed district. Well, in that area, they're wanting to discuss the idea of a couple of the restaurants being allowed to spill out onto the public sidewalk or public thoroughfare in order to serve outside. And in this particular situation, the only reason that the businesses need the city's approval or city ordinance is because they will be serving alcohol. One is just an awesome, very unique restaurant, and they serve like a Sunday morning brunch, and they would like to serve mimosas, like on Sunday morning, after church, before church, just during the day, and serve that with their delicious menu. The other is an actual bar, and the bar would like to extend its service outside of the parameters of the interior bar because it has an awesome view of our large creek, which looks like a river actually. So I did some research, and I spoke before the committee meeting. I brought Gretchen up to the podium, and she laid down like she was supposed to do. And I explained to the committee members of my city that whenever you do any kind of alterations to a public accommodation, which is like, actually that's under Title III of the Americans with Disabilities Act. But whenever you do a public accommodation, you have to include these standards for Americans with Disabilities Act. And in my case, I tried to explain that when they spill out onto the public sidewalk, again, like where you might have seen Gretchen and I walking past businesses and restaurants and bars and pubs and ice cream parlors and coffee shops, things like that. Part of the sidewalk is being requested to be taken up with chairs and tables and a border boundary. So I explained to the people on this committee that that's wonderful to do that. I would love to be one of the patrons, sitting outside. But what you have to make sure is that the boundary is not worded in our city ordinance so that it is a visible boundary. And that's the thing that caught my attention, is the preliminary ordinance that was written and then forwarded to me to review by a friend of mine who's on the city council. Said, this says it's got to be visible. And so my point as I was standing up before the people is that you need to take out that language. It needs to be detectable, not visual, because they can't really paint a line on the pavement or on the gravel or macadam and then say, okay, now everyone that's on this side of the line is within the boundaries of what we're considering the restaurant, and everybody that's on the other side of this line is outside of the restaurant. And the big deal is that these people want to serve alcohol. So I kind of looked in the direction toward our police chief and said, what if I'm drinking my mimosa, with my Belgian waffle, and the boundary that says you have to stay within this area is a painted line, and I'm outside of that line because I can't see a painted line. Then it's no different than a person in a wheelchair who wants to get in and out of a restaurant that might have 2 steps up and then a couple of more steps to get to maybe a counter where they order their food. That's just not accessible. So my point to them was it's not accessible, and I actually explained that people that are blind, let me just include myself. I didn't ask to be born blind. My parents didn't expect it. My teachers didn't expect it. My spouse never expected to be married to a person that's blind. My children didn't ask to be born to a mother who is blind. So it's not something that we wished upon ourselves, but we're in the state that I am blind and I have to live with it. And I would love to be able to access all of my community resources just like everybody else that doesn't have this disability. And so I got a lot of positive feedback, particularly from our city planner. So in the future, I'm going to be meeting with my city planner, and that's something within walking distance for Gretchen and me. So we will be going to his office. The mayor has invited me to his office. I plan to go to the police chief's office because one of the things I would like to discuss with our police chief is identification. I have been disoriented several times in town, in places that I just wasn't familiar with, and approached by an officer never knowing that that was a police officer, because they assume that people can visually identify them. And so I can't visually identify an officer. So I want to talk with the police chief about that. I don't want to take up a lot of my time. I've wrestled with the idea of taking up a lot of my personal time, my leisure time. I'm retired, so I have done a lot of work, you guys. I have worked all of my working life, and I'm at a point in my life that I love sitting on my front porch. I love going for leisurely walks. I love reading audible books. I love visiting with people. I love hosting dinner parties. So I don't want, at this point in my life, to go out there and beat the bushes for fair treatment, even though I have done that all of my life, ever since I was in college. So I know how that works, and I am a supreme advocate. But I'm trying to find some balance right now to work with my city. And I explained to these people on this committee that I would be a happy, joyful resource to them, a very positive resource. So if they have any questions at all about blindness and accommodations, I would love to have them dialogue with me about that. I'm not willing and ready to go file complaints, but in future videos, I'm going to explain to you, my viewers, how you do that and how it works, because you might be in a position that you need to file a grievance. You don't have people that are working with you. But right now, I just wanted to do a video that explains what I've been doing and how I've been squeezing that into my regular life and how it affects me. And it's going to have to affect me very positively, because there are very, very specific standards and criteria according to the ADA with blindness and with accommodations for being blind and structural sites that people might be building, which is the case in this point. We're talking about fencing and guarding things off, and there are very, very specific regulations that the ADA requires. And so in the future, just watch out for specific ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, specific information as it pertains to blindness. And if you have any specific questions, just right off the bat after watching this, please leave them in the comments below. If you want to see more Americans with Disabilities Act information, I love researching and sharing that knowledge if I'm sharing it with people that want to hear that knowledge. But I just wanted to share with you guys, my viewers, my subscribers, what I've been doing. And it's really, really fun to me to actually have some say in my own community and make a difference for all those people that will come behind me that are also visually impaired or blind, that want to use public facilities, and they don't necessarily know the law, or they haven't lived with blindness as long as I have, so they're not comfortable being an advocate at this point in their life. So I'm willing to do that. And I just wanted to share with you kind of what I've been up to. And if you have any questions, again, please leave those in the comments as well. And hit the like button if you like these informative kinds of things. I really do have a lot more information that I can share with you. So I'll be happy to do that in future videos. And until that time, I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and really stay safe and stay happy. Bye, everybody.